Hi, everybody. It's Ryan from Pi Records. I'm here with David Gamage in the UK from Engineer Records. How you doing, David?
Very well, very well. Hello, everyone. Hi. Good to be here. Thank you.
How's it? How's the lockdown going over there? Are you keeping busy?
Yeah, we're keeping very busy. Lockdown has been going on for nearly 3 months here now, and it's a bit like it is there. It's some people are sticking to it. Some people are getting bored now, so they're going out again and just getting on. And it's not really so much about whether it's safe or not. It's not so much if the virus is out there. It's more about people either want to get back to their work and their jobs, or they're out protesting or whatever. But it's kind of passing us by, and we're getting back to it now. So
That's good to
we
hear.
shall see.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. It is good to hear, except it's been pretty bad in the UK. I think the US and the UK, bizarrely, with our health systems and our education, yet we seem to be hit the worst. I think it's to do with like we're such cosmopolitan countries with so many people mixed in,
Yeah.
with big cities, with big cosmopolitan cities and a lot of traveling, that it hits us really hard. When these things happen, it hits us hard. But what are you going to do? You can't not have that. You can't not have that interaction. So yeah, but anyway, we're getting through it. And from the record label point of view, it's been kind of good actually, because we had a lot of projects on the go, and now they're all sort of caught up. They've all caught up and come together, and we're working on a lot of things all at once because we got time now. We got a bit of time to do it, which is good.
So, what do you have coming up release-wise? I know the last big one was, Wait the Dead and Sleeve. Those are the last two big ones I was pushing, and they were both
They they sleeve sleeve was a big one. Sleeve is still going on. Their album Don't Expect Anything has been doing really well. We did three video singles. We've just done a fourth actually. Just put out a fourth now, and they did a tour. Believe it or not, they were finding it really hard to get. They're from sort of a Richmond area, Virginia, and they were finding it hard to get shows up and down the East Coast. They need to find a new sort of tour booking agency. But we got them on a tour in India, and they went over to India and did a bunch of festivals over there and did some touring over there, and then came back. So they've been having a bit of an adventure, but that's going really well. The album's still going, and there's a new single and a new video out right now. And then a French band called Wake the Dead, which is much more like, that's heavy hardcore, like full on,
yeah,
real screamo type hardcore stuff.
yeah.
But very good. And in France and in Europe, they're pretty big. So their new album, Still Burning, it's called. The artwork's amazing. You've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've got that on CD and on LP. And we're only really just starting to promote that now. It's been out, the first video's out and the first single, and we're just starting to ship that around the place now. We've got maybe 500 reviewers, like blogs and zines and magazines we work with that we're sending copies to. We've got a bunch of radio stations. So that's underway now. Those two. But since those, we've had like 3 or 4 more already that have suddenly come together. We've got another quite heavy, sort of screamy, emo type band. They're an Italian band. They're called Amelia Bloom.
Ooh.
And they're kind of like Touche Amore or La Dispute or Pianos Become the Teeth. It's that kind of thing. So they've got a really harsh singer and then quite a melodic singer as well.
Yeah.
And they've been, until the lockdown, they were doing a lot of shows in Italy and around Europe, festivals. So again, they've got a new album out. It's called Maiden Voyage, and we've got an LP and a CD of that we're starting to push now. And then I think I sent you a few copies. We've got this Antilectual, who are a Belgian band. Actually, they're sort of a Belgian sort of garagey punk band who've been around forever. They've done like 4 or 5 albums.
That's the one with the
What we're doing then,
excellent Blondie cover.
yeah, that's the one. So it's all. So this is just a 4-track EP, and they're all covers. So you've got a Blondie cover, you got a Police cover, you got a Ramones cover. I think the other ones are Stooges. It's all like old sort of punky garage bands, you know.
Yeah.
And like you say, the artwork, they've gone back and remade the artwork from the original records. So there's 4. The record cover's got a fold out of 4 different covers, one for each song from the original, and it looks cool. It looks cool as hell. So we got stickers and posters that going out with the vinyl, and that's pretty cool.
That's
and we've also got.
I before you even mentioned them to me, I accidentally came across the Intellectuals online because I'm a huge Blondie fan, and I saw that cover. I'm like, oh, is that like a fan page? And then I clicked on it, and I was like, oh my god, that's so. It's
awesome.
It's striking. Like it really grabs you. The cover grabs you.
It really does. In fact, I'm just going to grab it because, so that's the one that's hanging on the telephone. That's the one you're talking about. But that's Hanging on the Telephone was always one of my favourite Blondie songs. But back in the day, I'm talking 25 years ago, here in the UK, there was like a crossover, like thrash band, hardcore thrash band called Acid Rain.
I know,
and they covered "Hanging on the Telephone." Oh, they're brilliant.
I had the cassette.
Really?
What was
awesome? What was hanging on the Telephone?
The Goddess. They have a song called Goddess.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I had yeah.
Off of they had a record called Moshkinstein and a record called Fear, and I think Goddess was on one of.
Yeah, I think I had Moshkinstein.
Brilliant record. I used to go see them play all the time in London and Brighton, you know, and go stage diving and jump around to them. And Hanging on the Telephone is such a classic song.
Yeah.
But that was like 20 years ago. So when these guys said they're going to do that, I thought, brilliant. You've got Truth Hits Everybody, which is one of the better Police songs. And then we take it apart. The vinyl is pretty nice, and every single one's got there's stickers and posters as well. So when you open up the inside, so you've got the Ramones cover.
Oh wow!
Search and Destroy and the Ramones. I Still Believe in Miracles. There we are. So it's pretty cool. But they're my favourites. Blondie and the Police. Definitely got the right ones on the outside.
You put a lot of effort into that, man.
Well, there's a guy. I mean, Intellectual are a hard-working band, and their main guy, a guy called Willem, the singer and guitarist, he actually came up with all the artwork, and they've even done. They make our life pretty easy because they've even done videos for each song. So for all 4 tracks, we've got a video to push, we've got artwork to push, stickers, posters. So they make it pretty easy. I would just say that this, although Engineer Records are doing this, we're doing this with about 5 other labels as well.
Okay.
So what we've done recently is we've done a few releases where we've said, oh look, how can we get proper, underground DIY sort of punk ethic? How can we get more people involved and then get more coverage? It splits the cost up because vinyl is expensive. I mean, LPs and 10 inches even more. So it splits the cost up, but what it really does is it helps get the promotion out there and spread the records out really quick. I mean, we always have, as a label, we've always traded with other labels. So if we've got 1,000 copies of a CD or a record, we'll send 20 here and 10 here and 50 here, and we can shift 1,000 copies of a record in a couple of weeks. But most of them are sort of traded out.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So that's easy. That's easy when you're running, distros at shows, a stall at a show, or if you're running a big mail order like Pi Records, and you're shifting records all the time. But I have to say, our website needs some work, and we're working on that now. So we've been concentrating more on putting the releases together and then doing promotion for them, and less on kind of trading and selling. So I've got to get back into that more, and that's happening at the minute. So yeah, this is one of the ones we're working on. There's 5 or 6 at the minute we're working on all at the same time, basically. Keeps us pretty busy.
That's incredible. You guys are extremely hardworking, and
Well,
it's that kind of punk rock, Black Flagish, Dead Kennedys, work ethic. The Clash,
that's what it's got to be. I mean, that's what we started out with. I mean, we started putting out records and tapes and putting on gigs back in 1990, 91. And Engineer Records itself only started in 99. So, but before that, we were working with loads of other labels and doing other things. And we took a lot of the best ideas, if you like, for kind of, networking and helping each other out and getting good partners. And we just took that into what we did. And it's all, we've got distributors and partners and things around the world, but we always do it in kind of I would call it a punk rock ethic. The way we do things is very much about promoting the band, promoting the release, keep building things up, keep getting the message out there, trying to spread the word.
Absolutely.
And that's you don't always, I'll be honest, you don't always cover the cost. You don't always make the money back, but it ain't always about the money. So it's nice to make some money back because that goes into the next record and that comes out quicker, and then you do it again. So it's kind of nice when some comes back, but it's more of a labor of love than anything else, I think.
Yeah, that's I mean, when we put records out in the early 90s, nobody was buying our records, but we want to make sure we had enough to send out. Epitaph Records had their first website in like 1997, and I had 1,000 CDs pressed of my band, and I went on their forums, and they had a one ads page, and I said, if you want a free CD of my band, email me your address and I'll mail it to you. Dude, I was mailing them all over the world, and I got rid of every single one.
Brilliant. And that's, and to be fair, that's what it should be. And now there's people around the world who've got that CD and have heard of your band. It would have been cool, Hag, if you were still playing now, if you'd have done more and more records, because that would have helped build it all up. Yeah. It's much easier, and this is one of the things about when we sign bands, when we start working with bands, I'm really keen that they're going to get off their arse, basically, and do some gigs and do some tours and do some work themselves. Because the record label can do a lot for them. We can do a lot of promotion, we can do a lot of distribution. But there's not enough hours in the day. You can't do everything. So the band has to work themselves. The band has to kind of book gigs and book tours and get off their arse. And you need to know that's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, it can't always. We've got 1 or 2 guys who we've worked with, on and off for 20 years, and now they're a bit older, and they're like, well, we're not touring anymore. But that's fine. When we do a release for them, we know it. So we're like, okay, we might do a weekend here or a weekend there, but generally you keep that on the down low. And you concentrate more on the bands you're going to tour more. And that's fine, because people expect that. So I'm always, although we're mainly working with UK and American bands, there's a lot of European bands, and we've even signed a few bands in the Far East and places like that, because I want to work with different people in different areas. Of course. And you never know when you can hook up a tour. So there's these guys out in the Philippines called Pile Driver. They're like a straight edge, hardcore band, and they've been sending me their demos, honestly, for like 10 years. And their new one, it's called Constant Battles. Their new one is brilliant. I mean, if you were ever a fan of Judge or Youth of Today or Gorilla Biscuits, my favourite, or anything like that,
Oh, yeah.
you would love these guys.
Yeah.
So they're cool as hell. They've still got that enthusiasm and that energy, and they've got a cool scene. Where they're from in Laguna, they play Manila, they play all around the Far East, and where they've got a cool scene and a cool following. So we're putting out a CD for them, just to see what happens, just to see. We've got a Japanese distributor, and we've got a few contacts over there, but they mainly doing it themselves. And what we're going to bring to it, I guess, is getting a few copies in Europe and the UK and America.
Yeah.
So even that's interesting, but we won't, it's not like we're going to say, okay, let's do 1,000 CDs and 1,000 LPs. That ain't going to happen. But nowadays, you can get away with doing a couple of hundred. I mean, it's not ideal. I'd rather do more, but you can introduce a band of fairly little cost and just try and help them out. And it's nice to help them out. So I'm into that. I'm always into that. So
That's awesome. Now, you showed me the intellectuals. What else? You said you had 2 or 3 more things going on right now.
Yeah, we got a bunch. I'm working on. I don't know if any of you guys know, but Rydell, a band I used to play in.
Oh yes.
Had some. We were signed to Cargo Headhunter, which was Godspeed You Black Emperor, and the guy from Braid's label, Blink 182, were on that label as well back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And we did a 3-album deal with them, and 2 of the albums came out on CD and sold out pretty quick. And well, there's only a few copies of the CD around, and it never came out on vinyl. And that's a while ago now. So we're actually doing a reissue of that on vinyl. So we've been working on Craig Cirinelli, who runs House Without Walls Design, who I think you know, Hag.
Oh,
he's a really good artist. He's a really good designer. So he's reworking the artwork. That's the old one. That's the original you've got there. That's Hard on the Trail. That's one. We got Hard on the Trail and Per Ardua ad Astra. Exactly. So he's reworking all that into a 12-inch format for vinyl re-releases of those.
That'd be excellent.
Which would be cool. We're working on that. I'm working with. You might have a CD there, but there's a band called Bear Away.
Oh, I like them a lot.
They're brilliant. They're like hot water music meets Jawbreaker meets, sort of really catchy but vocal. I love them. They're a UK band. They're from sort of Scarborough up in Yorkshire way on the northeast coast of the UK, and they're great guys and they're a brilliant band. And so we did a CD and a cassette, and now we're doing a 7-inch. Their new stuff is coming out on 7-inch. So they're moving slowly. They're playing a few gigs and they're writing a few new songs and they're moving slowly. And we're kind of trying to support them and get them growing. So we've got a new Bear Away 7-inch coming up. We've got we're working with a Belgian band called Escape Elliott, they're kind of pop punk, but they're way better than average. It's a female.
That name sounds familiar.
Well, they've toured with some big bands. They're kind of like Paramore, but better. And they've toured with some pretty big bands in Europe. And we've done a few videos with them, and we've done their first album. But it was like a co-release with other labels and with the band themselves. So we're working on their new record with them. I'm just trying to think I've got a load of, on the shelves in here, there's a whole bunch of stuff. That I've got a couple of boxes that aren't even opened yet, stuff that's coming in. So as it comes in, I kind of set it up with press sheets and start mailing it back out again. And usually there's a bunch of us doing it. But at the minute, because we're all on kind of lockdown and furlough, at the minute there's just me and Louis here. So it gets done gradually over a few days, Like we'll turn up to we got an account at the post office here, and we'll turn up with like a bin bag or a couple of bin bags full of CDs and records, and
Yeah.
it keeps them busy all day. So it's good. It's good. I'll probably be working on it till like midnight tonight, just shipping stuff out again, but that's okay.
Yeah, that'll be me too, dude.
Yeah, I don't mind. It keeps us off the street.
Yeah, yeah. And I gotta say, I was trying to figure out what I mean, I knew you were all about promoting bands. It
Yeah,
became very clear to me that your goal was to promote bands, but the more and more that I interact with you, the more I can see you just have a passion just to push, get it out as far as you can, and that is a admirable thing.
definitely. Almost to a point of I'm trying to support the bands. But it's tricky. I mean, we've had distributors come and go, and the market comes and goes. Like when we were running lots of stalls at shows and maybe doing 2 or 3 or 4 shows a week with a distro at the show, you'd sell a lot of records there, and then you sell them some mail order and some trades, and it was cool. But there are whole periods, sometimes years, where you're just kind of bubbling along, barely making any money, and it really comes and goes. Now, I think what's happening now is a lot more people have gone back online and are ordering stuff mail order,
Yeah,
because of the lockdown and stuff, and the whole resurgence of vinyl. We used to do loads of vinyl. Before I set up Engineer, I used to work with a German label called Scene Police, and on Scene Police, it was a lot of hardcore punk bands, but we would really make the most awesome packaging we could. So we'd come up with special fold-out poster packs, and the vinyl would always be like we'd have 4 or 5 different colours, a bit like what Bridge 9 or VAR at No Idea Records, when VAR was putting out all them different colours.
mm-hmm.
About the same time, we were doing that too, Scene Police. And I kind of, have one release in 4 different colours or in 6 different colours. And, I'm a record collector nerd myself, so it's not a problem. But, some people want every colour.
Yeah,
That's not what it's for. But you could, but it's cool when people can choose the stuff they want and things like that.
yeah,
We went through when the whole downloading thing and even work, it's not so much Amazon and iTunes and them kind of downloads, it's more Spotify with like the streaming. So some of our bands, so if a band like Chamberlain, for example, who we've done two albums for, one was a double album, so we've done 2 CDs and 2 LPs, one was a double for Chamberlain. We've done split with Hot War Music, we've done Hunter Gatherer, we've done quite a few things for some fairly big bands. And when you look online, that's all gone into streaming now and downloads. So some of our bigger bands like Eden Main or Canaan or Rydale or Chamberlain can have thousands, tens of thousands of streams all the time. And that'll be worth like 50 cents,
Yeah.
And it's nice for getting the band known, and it's cool that the band are getting listened to and known, but there's no money in it for record labels.
Yeah.
So you have to go back to vinyl and to maybe T-shirts or posters or stickers and things,
Yeah.
and go back to the merchandise stuff again. And it's all gone round in like this big circle. So we still have worldwide digital distribution. We're set up with One Digi and Ingrooves, and they've got something like 640 sellers. Amazon and iTunes and Spotify is just 3 of them. So we work with that, and we use that to try and do licensing. So we try and get our band's tracks on like soundtracks or compilations or maybe adverts. If they want some skate punk cool riff, we can find them. We work with a lot of like BMXing and surfing and skateboard type stuff, and we try and put music on that. And we've had some success with that kind of thing. We see that as just a continuation of the promotion. But
Yeah.
now it's kind of, like I say, it's come round again, and now we're going back to short runs of vinyl and maybe slightly shorter runs of CDs, maybe 500 CDs or something, maybe 200 or 300 vinyl, and just trying to find the right places to put them. So that's kind of where we're at the minute. And online, focusing more on videos. We've set up, and this is part of the reason why we're chatting, Ag, is we've set up a YouTube channel for Engineer Records.
Mm-hmm.
So when we put the Intellectual Blondie video and the Sleeve videos and Better Ways video and all these new videos are running all the time on our channel.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think we've got Amalia Bloom on there at the minute. We've got Atlanta Arrival. We've got a new London band called Jack and Sally who are really good. Really good. Like they're cool. They're kind of, we get sent a lot of pop punk band, and I like pop punk, I really do. It needs to, Jawbreaker has something. Green Day back in the day had something. You need the bands that really got something, a bit of their own catchy, but a bit of their own character. And for every kind of 50 I get sent, well, actually, for every 100 or 200 I get sent, but for every sort of 50 pop punk bands I get sent, there's maybe one that you think, shit, these guys are really good.
Yeah.
So Jack and Sally were one, and they were brilliant, and we put a new record out, and that's going really well. But we've just signed a new band, and another British band called the Stay Awakes, and we're just about to do an LP for them. The Stay Awakes, I'm telling you, there's kind of a Ramonesy feel to it. But there's a lot more musical ability. It's almost like Big Drill Car. Yeah. Big Drill Car around that sort of album type thing, batch period, meets the Ramones. And I'm telling you, they are so good. We're about to release their album and do some videos for them, and they're gonna blow up. They're a really big, really good band.
Yeah, you sent me them, and you sent me another clip. And what was the other one you sent me? They were both excellent.
The new, they're unreleased. The two clips I sent you were the new unreleased stuff. So the Stay Awakes was one, and the other is they're a New York-based band called Tired Radio.
Yeah,
and they're really. I mean, he's kind of, again, what I really love is kind of hot water music. Meets Small Brown Bike, Hunter Gatherer, Jawbreaker type thing, and he's got that going on. It's a guy called Anthony Tresillo, and he's in Brooklyn, and he wrote all the songs himself. He'd been playing guitar and writing the songs for ages, and he's only just got a band together to play them. But it was kind of a solo artist thing that then he developed into a full band to really get the power behind it. And the album, there's a single out and a video, but that's an older track. The album that we're about to put out for them is called Patterns, and again, neither of these are out yet. They're not even pressed yet. But Patterns by Tired Radio, man, it is going to be very good band. It's going to be a really good record.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier about some books. What are you available now, and what are you working on?
Okay. The records keep us busy, but we also we're getting into some books. I'm working with 2 or 3 authors who write kind of punk rock. Some of them write sort of punk rock fiction, like punk rock novel type things, and others are like guys who've done fanzines in the past and collections, and we're putting them together and putting them out as books. So I'm actually talking to a few bands as well. There's the Triple X fanzine. There's also, I don't know if you know Dan Lilker from Nuclear Assault.
Oh yeah.
He's actually done a book, so we're talking to him about his book. There's a guy here in the UK called Ian Glasper who's done 3 or 4 books about punk and hardcore. We're doing his next book. There's another guy called Alex Conralis who's writing all about pop punk, and we're doing his book. And there's a really good author here. He's in the UK, a guy called Tim Cundall, We've just done his first book. It's a novel called Compression, and it's about this punk rock guy who comes back to his town and it all falls apart. But he also runs a zine called Mass Movement, which is one of the better zines in the UK. And we've done collections of that, and we're working with him on his next book. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Also, you've seen this, I think, but this is Punk Faction. So this is way back in the day. So this is from 91 to 95, when I was a teenager. I did my own sort of punk rock zine, and I was chatting to, you know, Lawrence Livermore of Lookout Records and Green Day when they started, Crimp Shrine, Operation Ivy, Rancid. I was chatting with Bill Stevenson and the Descendants and all, and we interviewed Down by Law, Sam I Am. I mean, you name it. It was that kind of period, early 90s hardcore, when it was really a scene. It was really a scene, and bands like that would be playing in small clubs, and you could just go and chat to them and interview them, hang out. So most of this is kind of collections of interviews and articles from that kind of time. And we just put that together as a book because all the original zines were long gone. But what I've gotten into now is writing something more of a book. And I started writing one that kind of carries on from that and just talks about all the people, all the bands we've met, all the promoters, all the venues we played at. It talks a bit about the bands I was in, which was Rydell, but also Joey Fat and a band called Couch Potatoes, all of whom had records out and toured. And even the band I'm in now, a band called Come the Spring. But it's not an ego trip about me. It's about the people we met and the hardcore scene, and how being part of that hardcore scene really gives you a feeling of belonging and something more than just what you're doing. So it's kind of it meanders its way. It's kind of wandering through hardcore land, and it meanders its way through the scene, and it's a bit of a love letter to the punk rock scene and how cool it is. And I'm not talking about 77 punk. I'm talking about hardcore scene, you know, mainly in the UK, but from kind of 90 right up to now. And I'm probably 150, 160 pages into that, and I reckon I'm about halfway through. And what I just realised, I'm enjoying doing it, but it's taken a long time. And that's why the lockdown's been good, because I can spend a few hours on it most days and write another couple of pages. But I've realised as I get into the engineer records section, that engineer records itself, because we've got 280 releases out now, more in fact, 150 bands, and each one of them bands and each one of them releases has got its own little story. It's got its own little anecdote. Not just the boring shit, but, you know, from the people you meet and how you get the record out and the gigs that happen, there's always a story there that's more interesting, and it gives you some insight into those people and what they were doing and why they were doing it. So it's more about that. So now I'm going to have to, I am kind of writing one about engineer records and all the bands on the label and the releases. And so there's kind of two on the go at the minute. So yeah, it's pretty busy. It's pretty busy at the minute.
Would you that book, it sounds a lot like what Ian MacKaye does when he documents the DC hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Bands.
I wish
he calls himself an archivist, you know.
Yeah. Exactly that. I mean, it's not like you've got all ages, you've got Ian MacKaye stuff, you've got Rollins Get in the Van, and over here there's a bunch of people too. You know, Frank Turner's done a book about his tours, like say Ian Glasper's done a few. This isn't a grand thing, because the bands I played in were just, you know, little club pub bands. So this isn't meant to be some grand ego trip, but actually I think that's better. When you've got a name that everyone knows, you're looking at just what they did, and you're kind of not judging it, but, you know, there's a set perception there of what should and shouldn't be happening. If the bloke next door plays in a punk rock band, yeah, that might be boring to some, but to others, if he's played 800 shows or 1,000 shows, from some of them shows, he's got some stories that are going to make you piss yourself. And
Yeah.
they're going to be interesting and they're going to be funny. And they're not, do you know what I mean? And that will give you an insight into the scene, what was good about it, what was bad, the real flavour of what actually happens in a scene, in a youth scene. And yeah, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's trying to bring that bigger picture about this is what happened and why it happened. And frankly, you could get off your ass and do it today. And you could do it even easier now because of the internet. And maybe some people feel a bit lonely or cut off or depressed. And maybe, you know, they need to read things like that and think, you know what? If the scene in your town doesn't exist, get off your ass and create something. Get your friends together. You can put on a show. You can run a fanzine. You know, you can even start bands. You can do what you want to do. It just needs a bit of encouragement, you know? It's true. It's true. You can run a record label.
That's the punk rock ethos everybody needs to hear about.
I think so. I think so. But you know what? I think, and I am conscious when I'm writing these things. You know, a lot of anyone who's listening to this, Hag, is probably like you or me. They know what bands they're into, and they're probably already into the hardcore scene. And that's great. And I hope they read it. I hope they're interested, and it makes them laugh or gives them a few little insights. But I'm also thinking it'd be nice to get this out to some people who aren't hardcore kids or punk kids, you know, because I think you could say to them, you know, you can get into this. There's a better way of doing things. The music is the message, and the personal is the political, and there's a lot more to this shit. Just look at what's going on at the moment, not just in America, in the UK, all around the world. Look at the sort of shit that's going on now. People would be more compassionate and maybe more educated and understanding if they'd grown up more in that kind of scene and had a more kind of fair equality. People are products of their environment, and if your environment is that kind of punk rock, help each other mentality, you're going to be a better person for it, in my opinion. I may be wrong.
No.
These are. You don't want to sound, you know, grand in any way, but these little things are important. The personal is the political. I'm not forcing it on anyone, but you know, I will treat people how I want them to treat me. I'll act in a way I expect other people to act. There are arseholes of every creed and colour, and there are really good guys of every creed and colour, you know, and you treat people how they treat you. So start out from a point where you're trying to help each other and do the right thing, and you won't go too far wrong.
Yeah, man. It didn't take me long to recognize that you and I would work well together. Every couple of weeks, every couple of months, I get an email or I send you a message. I get positive feedback about Engineer Records.
Cool.
And it's important to me. It feels important to me to give back to what the music has given me when I was growing up, when I was a part of a scene, but still felt alone. You know, it was important to be a part of a community.
Definitely. And you know, and times change and people do their own things. You know, a lot of the guys I know who've maybe gotten older now, maybe gotten married and had kids, they're still totally hardcore. Their whole mindset is still totally hardcore. They may not go to 3 gigs a week or like they used to. They might go to 1 a month, but they're still the nicest guys you could meet. You know, and I think if more people were like that, and kind of if kids started their own, you know, rock clubs or whatever, it'd be cool. It'd be cool as hell.
That'd be awesome. Man, it was so good to talk to you, David. Before we go, I wanted you to give you an opportunity to shout out to anybody or to talk about any last things that we might not have touched on.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, like I say, shout out to in the States. I mean, Sleeve, I've been working hard with recently, so shout out to the Sleeve guys. Craig Cirinelli is doing the artwork, like I say, and a bunch of new releases for Engineer. So shout out to him. Milo, the old singer of Rydell, is living in New York now, working in 2 record shops there actually. And I think the shops are closed, but he's been going in doing mail order. And but he's been quite involved in all the protests and stuff recently, I think. So shout out to him, and stay safe, Milo. And really just to the bands and stuff over here, and obviously to you guys. I mean, Pi Records, we've got a couple of distributors in the States, and what I've noticed is, like, we work into punk and people like that, and you don't get any feedback. I mean, you don't. There used to be one called Saul Goodman, and then there was Very, and now there's Interpunk. And we send them, we send them 5, 10, 20 copies of each release, and they stick it on their website, and that's all she wrote. That's the last you hear. What's nice to work with you guys at Pi Records or Gavin at Stick Figure or something like that is we get feedback, we get interaction. We might only send 10, 20, 30 copies of something at a time, but when they go, we'll send you a bunch more. And at least we get a feeling for, yeah, this is good or that's good, or we chuck in stickers and postcards, and you guys are happy to do it. And it's we have an office in New Jersey with some stock, but basically we have to ship everything to you guys from the UK, and that gets expensive. So you have to get it right. I don't mind shipping boxes of stuff around the UK and Europe, but it costs a lot to ship to America. So, like you were saying, Hag, it's like I would literally ship our stuff for free to anyone who wants it. I have piles of our CDs here where there's 10 different new releases, 20 different new releases, and I sell that stuff for like 99 cents. Just pay for the shipping, and I'll send you it because I want you to hear our bands. You always have a few CDs left over. You can have them. When we do shows in the UK, we'll be there. If someone comes and buys some CDs, we usually give them a bunch more. Doing that through the post is tricky, but if people want to get in touch to Pi Records, if they buy a few things from you, you'll chuck them in some extra things. If someone wants to get in touch with us in the UK or in Europe, just drop us an email. If they buy something from us, we'll chuck them a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
it's no problem. It's and if anyone can wants to review some of the records, that's brilliant. Maybe post something on social media. It's more about that, just helping each other, running zines and blogs and doing reviews and stuff. Radio stations too. We get a lot more like college radio in America.
Yeah.
Kind of quiet at the minute, but we get a lot more interaction and feedback from college radio stations. But if there's any alternative rock or punk radios, again, we'll send you our stuff. Just drop us a line. Just, label at engineerrecords.com. Drop us a line. We'll come straight back to you.
That's awesome.
Oh, cool.
So you get Engineer here at Pi Records. You get Engineer at engineerrecords.com. Is that the website? And keep an eye out for the new stuff, the Intellectuals. And Craig Cerinelli is also working on some great things, some great artwork. David, it was a pleasure to meet you for the first time. And
good to talk. Long overdue.
Long overdue. And I had such a blast listening to you and talking with you. And I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate yours. Thank you, Hag. Thanks a lot. All the best to PI Records. Cheers, man. Cheers, Pi.